Well, let me bring in the convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe. Doctor, you're welcome to the Pulse here on Joy News. Always a pleasure to have you here. Yesterday, this bold decision was taken by organized labor. I'm wondering whether in the last 24 hours there's been some overtures from governments on this, decision you've taken going forward.
And it was gratifying that organized labor that are part of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey actually walked the talk and have declared the 10th of October as the day for the strike. As we speak, there's been no overtures yet, and so we are still waiting, and we are hoping, because as my colleague from the TUC said, it is not our intention, to go on a strike for a strike's sake. But when you are a people who are desperate, who are being poisoned, who are dying in the pits, food to water, you don't, this is the water that you have, where your livelihoods as fisher folks, your livelihoods as those farmers, you have a young boy who is still in KNUSA and supposed to be going back for the defense of his thesis, dying in the pits and all of that. A pregnant woman whose only offense is that she had responded to nature's call and dies in an implosion. Then you need to fight back, and you need to use whatever resources at your disposal to ensure that as a people you don't sit and get yourself poisoned and get yourself killed. So this is the action of a very desperate group of citizens who are deciding that we will take a cue from the advice of His Excellency the President, which he gave on the 7th of January 2017, to be citizens and not spectators.
There appears to be some connection issues there too, Dr. Kenashigwe. We'll see if we can rectify that so that we can. Yes, Doctor, please go on.
Yeah, so again, I was just saying that it's really where we've gotten to, there's been no response yet. So what we're doing is that we're trying to, as the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, we are also mobilizing other sectors of the economy, because organized labor has declared a strike. We need to ensure that various facets of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, that is made up of religious bodies, it's made up of business entities, made up of the research and academia, the youth groups, the traditional bodies, civil society organization, all these 10 groups. We are able to mobilize all of us so that this action will be an impactful one, and hopefully we'll be able to get a resolution of this challenge as quickly as possible.
What about the private sector? Doctor, I asked about what about the private sector?
Right. No, so you see, again, so you had the TUC. The TUC has private sector members.
Right.
So there are some of the private sector people who are already unionized. So they, through the TUC structures, will be engaged. But other private sector people who are not unionized are the people that we're going to be engaging through the blocks. It is the reason why the media is going to be important. And so the call that we have for the media is that, and as you said yourself, the countdown has started. This is just day one. We need on a daily basis to respond to the call by the GGA president that we need to keep this matter on the front burner and be pushing on it, making sure that we get all Ghanaians sensitized, workers, those who are not working, various civil society organizations, churches. I know, for example, the Presby Church, for example, has asked its congregation to start wearing red.
Right.
I know of other denominations that are also planning nationwide prayer protests. So we need to, galvanize all of Ghana. And for even the media, last week, Friday, we had an emergency general meeting as Ghana Journalists Association. And our position has been taken. And you saw the president of the GJA make very emphatic points, calling on His Excellency the President to act. And so we would also be planning how we are going to also engage in this civil action whilst we still provide the oxygen that mobilizes and galvanizes all of Ghana to make sure that we get the state of emergency declared on our water bodies and the buffers, which are already illegal, and then in the forest reserves, and the revocation of LI 2462. Then once we get the president starting to act, our ask, and we've written to the presidential candidates of the NDC and the MPP, is for them to also endorse these particular actions and then also declare that when they come to office on the 7th of January, they are also going to support this action. We do not want any political party to benefit from this particular action that we are taking as citizens of this country.
Right.
So that no one the double speak, where they come into the big towns and cities and then they come and talk about the fact that we should fight against this illegality, and they go and stand in the pit and then they start talking about the fact that they are going to grant people amnesty, they are not going to stop Galamsey, they are going to teach people how to do the illegality well. I don't know how that is possible. So we want to make sure that we have a consensus, a national consensus about the fact that this is an illegality. It's as bad, if not even worse, than armed robbery. It's as bad, not even worse, than any other high treason crime you can see. This is ecocide. And then also our appeal to the leaders of this country is for them to realize that the UU Parliament, for example, has added ecocides to the grave environmental crimes. And so if they don't take action today, they might be on retirement tomorrow. They will be hauled to either Arusha, they will be hauled to The Hague to respond to people who sat and poisoned their own people. So it is important for all the duty bearers who have to act to take into consideration that the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, we are not only looking at this thing from just the great action that has been initiated by the organized labor, but we're looking at other legal means that we are also going to use. Another action that we as media were going to take is that the data that we're getting from the researchers, as we speak, there are 2 cops that are in 2 morgues, one in Bibiani, a hospital in Bibiani, and one in a hospital in Kumasi, where 2 women are dead, and the level of heavy metals that are in the carcasses are something that you cannot write home about.
And is this recent?
For example,
Doctor, I was asking, is this recent?
I'm saying yesterday. I'm telling you, as recently as yesterday, this is what is happening. There are some young boys in Bekwai, for example, who they are the people who they call the kitchen. They sit in the kitchen and they burn the amalgam of mercury and gold. They have been so poisoned by mercury that now they cannot even take food and put in their mouths. They are on very expensive medication. There are children that have been born with 6 limbs. There are a lot of spontaneous abortions happening in some of these areas. And gradually what is happening is that the scientific community are beginning to see the relationship between Galamsey and these evil, these evil things that are happening to people.
Right.
So we are going to be running campaigns. It is going to be a shock and awe. You might be, we will tell people that, some discretion will be required to be able to see some of the pictures I am seeing now. We will be showing bodies of people who have died in pits. We will be showing you, taking all the ethical considerations taking all the ethics into consideration, blurring the face of all of that. We'll be showing that so that we can draw a linkage between this evil activity and the things that are happening to people.
Okay.
And because sometimes our people are not linking them. Some of these diseases happen and they think it's far-fetched. Do you know that some of them even think that when people die in the pits, that is when the gold comes? But
yes, it's been an age-old, sort of assumption people have.
Yes, completely. And it's not only just an assumption. There's one of the cases that we are working on where a 6-week-old baby was, killed, and then was taken to the Bibiani hospital. The police were involved. There was a pathologist that saw it and told them not to bury. So what then had to happen was that when the pathologist left, somebody got them to Nicodemus go and bury. It had to take the pathologist speaking to the IGP for them to exhume the body. And when they exhumed the body and the report was done, it showed that the baby had been killed, blood had been drained. And all of that is used for these nefarious activities. And you have people who are supporting all of that. So it is important that we let people realize that this thing that we are talking about, it is not just that, Labour decides that they are going to go on a strike. It is because the consequence of it is so grave on us as a country that we've not really gotten there yet. As we speak, Erastus has done some work with some scientists that even the water that is being treated by Ghana Water, all they do is to do chlorination and to do sedimentation using the polymer. The fact that the water is clear does not mean it's clean. Does not mean that you don't have heavy metals in that. So one of the actions we're also going to be doing, we're going to be writing to Ghana Water to be able for them to also furnish us with the quality of the water when it comes to the issues of heavy metal in all their treatment plants, so that as citizens, we will start advising ourselves, should we actually be drinking this water?
Okay. Few questions here, Doctor. So this course of action is as a result of government decision not to yield to the demands you made that expired at the end of September. Now, Joy FM spoke to a former Chief of Staff, Mr. Kodjom PNM, who is clear that galamsey in any form is illegal and must be rejected. But his call is for government to engage organized labor and the coalition as soon as possible so as not to grind the economy of the country to a halt. From your side, for what I'm getting, you are ready for any kind of engagement. It is rather the other side that is reluctant to meet the demand. So this course of action, there is no going back from the way and the picture you are painting toward this afternoon. Something really must be done.
No, so you see, the committee that had been formed by His Excellency the President had reached out to the media coalition that they wanted to meet us. Our position was very clear. We were only going to meet the committee when the state of emergency had been declared. At least the moratorium had been declared over the water bodies, the forest reserve, and the buffer. So you see, at the point where you are dying, at the point where you are being poisoned, this is not the time to go and sit and talk. What are you going to discuss when your life is at stake? So the actions have to be taken. So it's not about an engagement at this point. The engagement needs to be triggered by the actions that government has taken. As speak. We're not seeing any action that the government has taken. You know, one of the ways in which the president demonstrated leadership during COVID era and galvanized all of us, it was the fact that they kept us all, going, and the president was addressing us. That fellow citizens address. That's what carried everybody together. By this time, the president should be telling us what we are doing day by day, blow by blow, so that we all can support him to make sure that we all fight and win this battle.
The last time government spoke to this matter was the announcement that the military and the police were going to be deployed in some of the regions to fight illegal. Apart from the eastern region, we spoke to the regional minister who confirmed that in fact they've started. We are yet to see evidence of this on the ground. But this afternoon, at the ongoing judges and magistrate conference, the Attorney General makes the point that there are over 800 people that have been arrested awaiting trial in our various courts. And he asked the Chief Justice to dedicate special time and special court to deal with illegal mining issue. That for you is a step, but it doesn't solve the issue we are in right now.
Oh, unfortunately, that is not a step. I can tell you that 2 weeks ago, I went to Nkoko. I was in my car. I was driving in my car. I had not left my car to go off into the bush like you are showing Erastus in the bush. You could see people by the side of the road engaged in the illegality. This is Eastern region. So, and then also there's some works that was done, after this call was made. There are still chanfans that you can even see. Some of them, you can see them from bridges. So you see, the military, the call for the military, the call for the regional ministers to do anything, nothing is happening. The reason why you're not getting government to be able to report that, because no action is being taken. There are people who still are in the forest, because of what we do, people report back to us. There were people in the forest. That's one of them that happened. And it took Erastus to then alert, some authorities for them to go and drive them. So, till we take decisive steps. And the steps has to be very transparent for the criminals to know that we really are coming after them. These criminal-minded people, they will not stop. Right. And also because of the fact that this time, they're using heavy equipment. And also because of the drought, it is even making the water bodies very fertile for them. The level of the water bodies are low. So they are able to get access to it. So they are disturbing it the most. And then when you come to the issues of the 800 and something people who are in our courts, go and look at them. You will find out that it is our unfortunate brothers and sisters who are in the pits, who are mining for these people. Where is Akunta Mining? Where are the directors of Akunta Mining who were pointed out by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources of being involved in illegal mining in the Tanonimire Forest Reserve? How come they are not part of this 800 and or so people that have been named? How is it that Heritage Imperial, who was giving a prospecting license, and then we had gone to the EPA, and the EPA said they did not have any permits to be able to mine? How is it that they were in their mining and they had the audacity of taking Erastus to court, and in their court document they mentioned the fact that they had mining operations? How is that the Heritage Imperial and all its people are not part of these people who are being arrested? So in as much as I welcome the call by the Attorney General that we should speed up this thing, we should have dedicated courts with dedicated times, unfortunately, the root cause, the people who are behind us, the people who own all these excavators, the people who spend the monies, the people who are buying the gold, they are not amongst those people who have been arrested. I would want to be proven wrong. We would want to see the names of those who are being prosecuted to find out that those, very politically connected people, the people that you remember that the Speaker of Parliament said to our MPs, that some of them were involved in it. How many MPs have been charged? From both sides, they are all involved in it. I can tell you that for a fact, that from both sides, they are all involved. And we are doing some work. Very soon, we will start naming. Our lawyers have told us, stating the fact is, would excuse us from defamation. So we are going to go that particular route. All we are doing is that we are pushing together, making sure that our research teams are put together so that we have the evidence to be able to point out the fact that these are the people who are involved in it. After all, you look at the fourth estate report that was done. Who are the people benefiting from LI 2462? Mostly politicians. Are they not some politically exposed people? Yes. So where we've gotten to now, we are not involved in any political partisan issue. We are involved in saving ourselves from the poison, from the sketch that you're showing to us on the TV screen. But what kind of people are we who decide that we will do self-poisoning? Even when you poison your enemy during a war, it is considered a grave war crime. Right. And to the extent that now we are poisoning our people, and then our leaders are sitting aloof and allowing this to happen. This definitely cannot be acceptable. And my final question to you, Doctor, is, the fact that this week the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources celebrated a $30 million grant by the United Arab Emirates, and the money is to be used to protect our forest cover. The same forest, we've passed a law that allow people to mine in these forests. So when you hear some of these stories, so you see the paradox. It makes it quite interesting. You see the paradox. Ghana is one of the first people who will go to all of these places and sign the corps. And so one of the things that we are going to be doing is that we're going to be writing to entities like the UAE, like the World Banks and all of that, to say to them that they should not be giving money to a government that is deliberately, giving out the forest to be destroyed, that is deciding that it will not, take care of the forest that even exists. And then you are going to say you're giving them money to do what? How long is it going to take the trees to grow? So this 30 million should not be given. The World Bank also gave some money for some reclamation. How do you then take a basket and take it to the water and say you are going to fetch water and bring home? So all of those monies are being wasted. And so that 30 million that is being given to the government, it's money that has been wasted. And these are monies that we are going to be writing. We will go to be writing to these entities and say to them, don't do that. Don't give us money to go reclaiming the forest when we can prevent it. We all know that a stitch, we were taught when we were back in the primary school, that a stitch in time saves, that prevention is better than cure.
Right.
So why wouldn't you prevent? You go and destroy and then go and collect money from other people and say you're coming to fix it?
Well, I'll look forward to, the revelation that is coming from the hospitals regarding people who are dead, and the postmortem reviewed some alarming, link to illegal mining, something that I think we should share with our viewers and our listeners. So I appreciate the magnitude of the issue that we have on our hands. But thank you so much, Dr. Engineer Kenneth Asigbe. And of course, this crusade is ongoing. Alan Kojo-Chemantin, yesterday appearing before the IEA presidential dialogue, had some projections or some proposals to deal with illegal mining should he win the upcoming elections.
Last but not the least, the introduction of new legislation and regulations that will impose a complete ban on any form of mining in river bodies and forest reserves. That is a complete ban. Now, again, with an associated sanctions regime, including life imprisonment for the violation of these new laws. Ghanaians, you need to get to a point where when you punish them, they'll feel the impact of the punishment. If it's just a question of 10 years in jail, the amount of money that they may be getting from Galamsey, it will not be enough deterrence. They will go in 10 years, come back and continue. So we have to be serious about how we deal with Galamsey. Another important policy intervention in the area of natural resource management is to introduce new legislation that will significantly reduce the export of raw materials from Ghana without value addition. And I've made a commitment that by 2030 in this country, if Alan becomes president, no raw material will be exported in its raw form unless there's a minimum of 60% value addition. How is it that for 100 years, Ghana has only depended on one commodity, cocoa? So we can't think beyond cocoa. And even with that, the level of value addition is only about 40%. The real value in cocoa.
So Alan Chemantin, who is the presidential candidate for the Movement for Change, was speaking at the IEA presidential dialogue yesterday. Now, let's move to another related story, because the High Court judge has adjourned the hearing of a bail application submitted by the lawyers for some of the Stop Galamsey demonstrators to October 7th, just a day before many of the protesters are scheduled to reappear in court after they were remanded for 2 weeks. Now, the decision came after a legal team member defending the demonstrators requested a 1-hour recess to prepare and submit additional documents demanded by the Attorney General to support their argument for bail. Member of our Legal Affairs, Justice Kwaku Asante, joins me with details of the court proceedings. So, Kwaku, we understand this was done online?
Yes, Elton, this particular case today was held online by Microsoft Teams. And in fact, this case was originally held on Monday. The lawyers for the protesters had filed a bail application for at least 8 of the persons who were arrested, including Ama Governor, and they were seeking to get a court to vary the order of the circuit court not to give bail to some of those protesters. And so on Monday, when the case was heard, the original date for the return date for this case was 7th of October. That would mean that is barely a day to the protesters returning to court, because most of them were remanded until the 8th. So the lawyers for these protesters filed for abridgment of time in law. This means that we want the case to be brought forward because of certain exigencies and because of certain important matters. And so the court wanted to hear the reasons for which the lawyers were asking for this case to be abridged and the time expeditiously dealt with. The Attorney General on Monday did say that it did not have the full complement of the application, and that in fact it had been short-served, and so he wanted to take some time to study the document. The case was adjourned to today. So this morning, the court reconvened online, like you said at the top of the show, and heard the application. The lawyers did make the application that given that the liberty of their clients are at stake, they cannot wait to the 7th of October. The Attorney General's office responded that this bail application should have included the charge sheet that spells out the particulars of the offenses that have been charged against these persons. This is a position the court largely agreed with and said that in filing this application, it should have come with the charge sheet as well as the proceedings of the Circuit Court that did deny this protesters' bill. That was the point that was canvassed by the Attorney General. The lawyers for the protesters wanted the case stood down for about an hour so that they could get these documents and attach it. In fact, they had earlier argued that most of these documents were already in the domain or the purview of the Attorney General. The Attorney General said it was only the charge sheet that was with them, of course, because they did file these charges against the protesters. When it comes to the court proceedings from the Circuit Court and also the proceedings from the court, this is not something that they have because it is with the Circuit Court. And so the lawyers wanted an hour suspension of the case of a sort so that they can get these documents. They did not get that from the court. The court denied that and has now adjourned this case, the bail hearing, to the 7th of October, the original date for the case to be heard. The interesting point to note, however, is that 7th of October is barely 24 hours for these persons to appear before the Circuit Court again for the trial to continue, and we expect that they will make another application for bail.
And we also do understand that another group is preparing to demonstrate tomorrow.
Well, yes, in fact, the Fix the Country umbrella and a new hashtag that has been trending on social media for some time now, Free the Citizens, they are embarking on a 3-day protest, a two-pronged approach. They are protesting to call for the government to take stringent measures to deal with Galamsey, and they are also demanding the freedom of the 54 persons who are currently behind bars for illegal mining. And they are starting tomorrow at Okonglo, the University of Ghana Stadium area, and they're going to march through the principal streets of Accra up to the Independence Square. They're going to present some petitions. The protest 3 days is going to last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then on Saturday evening, to climax this protest, they're going to hold a vigil. They've already put out a statement saying that the police have agreed with them on terms of the route that they have to use. We have not heard from the police since, and we expect that by close of day today, the police will communicate the agreement they've had with these protesters and the modalities for these protests. Elton.
Kwakwa Asante is a member of our Legal Affairs Desk. Let me bring in Noah Adamte Eko, a member of the lawyers defending some of the protesters. Noah, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse. I trust you are doing good.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm doing good, and I trust you and your viewers are also doing good.
Great. What about your clients? How are they holding up in either in Sawam or in any of the police stations?
Yeah, it's not the ideal situation for them. I have had a chance to visit almost all of them in the various cells across the city, and it's not a good condition for them to be in. So I'm just looking forward to favorable decisions that will bring them home. But I've had a chance to all get in Sawam, the 11 persons who were remanded to prison custody. There are 10 of them at the male prison, then 1 person at the female prison. Surprisingly, those at the prisons are being treated better than those who are in the police custody. At least when I went there and I interacted with them and the prison officers, they have been giving good support to them, even psychological support from the prison. So they are at least being treated well. It's not an ideal situation for them, but compared to those in the police cells in Accra, they are doing better.
I'll come back to ask your reaction to what the Attorney General told the judges and magistrates today. But let me pick your reaction to what you make of the court decision today and eventually, adjourning the case to the 7th of October.
Yeah, so I was quite sad about it. Like, charge sheets and then the proceedings. On the issue of the charge sheets, like the lawyers argued in court, the state already has the charge sheets. They filed the charges against the accused person. So if the court is interested in hearing the case without the charge sheet being attached, I would have wished to see that the state will allow the matter to go on without a charge sheet. On the issue of the record of proceedings in the because this is not an appeal and it is a repeat bail in a different court, which must consider the case on, it's not fatal not to add the proceedings from the previous court. So again, I would have wished the court would have continued with it without the record of proceedings with the case, especially because the liberties of the accused person. But the decision of the court is that those documents should be, and so we will do that and come before the court again on the 7th of October. Right,
but I don't know whether as of now there are specific charges against individuals, because at the last time they were in court, they were not isolated in terms of the charges against. I don't know whether as lawyer for some of them, you now have specific charges against your clients individually.
No, so the way the charges are formulated, although they are charged collectively, their charges are spelled out individually to them. So the charges are, in reality, the charges are specific. Okay. So for instance, if you pick one charge sheet of about 8 persons being charged, you realize that for every count of the offense, a specific number of people. Okay, so that tells you that you being charged specifically for this particular offense. So they are not on different charge together on the same charge.
Right.
Offenses relate to them individually.
Yes. So today, for example, now there appears to be softening of stance, especially from the Attorney General's office. The AG himself was at the Judges and Magistrates Conference, which is currently ongoing in Accra. He made 2 very instructive comments. One, asking the police and the investigators to speed up their investigation, and then those sufficient evidence cannot be established against them, they should be allowed to go free. And then secondly, also appealing to the prosecutor not to oppose bail applications that may come from people like you the next time the case is heard in court. Your reaction?
Yeah, so it's great the Attorney General makes these statements, at least to show that the concerns we raised initially, at least, have reached the good officer. But we need to understand the comments of the Attorney General, in my view, depicts a problem that we had raised from the onset, from the time the accused persons were arrested.
Right.
And one of them was that there are a lot of people who have nothing to do with the protest. Now, I am speaking on this issue because there's going to be another protest the next 3 days.
In fact,
and we don't want to
tomorrow.
switch where the police will arrest people, yes, to arrest people who may be at the event just to witness, or who may be at the protest but are not engaged in any illegality. If the assembly itself is lawful, then the police arrest should only be extended when persons are at the protest grounds and they are engaged in acts of illegality. The police should not be allowed to use the act of 1 or 2 persons at the protest as a reason to arrest everybody at the protest. So these are some of the concerns raised initially, that there were some people who were not at the protest, but they were arrested because they were standing by watching a public event. And there are some people who are at the protest ground, but did not engage in any act of seeming illegality. So we raised these concerns, and we expected at that time that the police and then the AG department would have sat together, and then in reviewing the tapes, they would have cleared these people for them to go and be with their families. It's been a week and more since these persons were remanded to prison and then police custody. And they have suffered these unlawful encroachments on their rights as a result of this. So we have to prevent these things. So the AG's comments, we appreciate it, and it's good that it has come out, but we wish that it will set a precedent, the basis for the state will set a precedent going forward. The police should use the law in arresting people and not just arrest people in droves, so far as they've seen one person acting unlawfully at a protest ground.
Well, it's unclear the strategy the prosecution will use, or maybe whether the AG may even file a nollie prosecutor. But you, I'm sure, will go to court, with an application for bail.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely do that.
Counsel,
the AG has spoken, but we are not sure that the prosecutors will go ahead with and do what the AG is saying. So we have to still go with our bail applications and ensure we represent our clients to the best of our abilities as lawyers.
Counsel, before I let you go, do you have any update for us on this pregnancy, no pregnancy matter?
Yeah, so the last time I think we heard was from her family, who were still insistent that she was pregnant. We are hoping that the records from the court, from the hospital, will be made available to us, and then at least we can also conduct a good test on her to determine the reality on the ground. Whether or not she's pregnant, in my mind, it's not a really big issue in the context of this case. And the issue is, our concern is with due process. Requirements that prosecutors must comply with when an accused person is being tried. And one of them should be that if an accused person even fakes illness, there must be a test done to determine whether or not the person is actually ill. Okay, so if someone says she's pregnant, whether or not she is, the real thing that should be done is that the state will take the steps at the time the complaint was made to determine if she is pregnant. This lady said she was pregnant at the time that she was sent to the police station. The state did not know about it until issues came out that she was bleeding where they took steps to run the test. So that is in our justice delivery system. We have to make sure that when accused person says I'm ill or I'm pregnant, even if she's ascertained the true facts, so that we don't end up might actually be pregnant or actually be ill in a way that's wrong just because we think there's a possibility she is not pregnant.
All right.
Say to that issue.
All right, Councillor, thank you so much, and I hope to see you as we follow up on this matter in court on the 8th of October. This is a pause here on Joy News. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll have the election headquarters here on the show. Stay right there.